We're back live here on the beat, 7:35, coming to the end of 2013, and we have been blessed here for another year to have with us on the show, sharing with us his perspective, having him walk us through many of these complex issues and explain to us many of these complex issues. Again, sharing his perspective, but also ideas for what we should be doing in this country, solutions to meet the challenges. And we're very appreciative of all that he has given us in 2013, and we're looking forward to 2014. And, of course, I'm talking about former Congressman Joe DioGuardi, CPA and author as well. Good morning, Joe. Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much, and a great holiday season to you. Blessed Christmas, and let's hope 2014 is going to be a way that America realizes it's got to turn this ship around, or at least stop this inexorable march towards that iceberg that I've been seeing for 30 years, hiding in plain sight. You know what's just happened with this bipartisan budget deal? It reminds me back in 1990, you know what we did? We had something called Graham-Rudman-Hollings. Hey, we had a $200 billion deficit, and that was under Ronald Reagan in 1 year, 1985. We got to show discipline. So what do? We come up with a nice formula called Graham-Rudman. We're going to reduce this deficit 25% a year until it goes down to zero. Well, it turned out after 2 years, we had to extend it a year to 5. And then finally, after extending it to 7, they gave up on it. Well, that's what we just did with this bipartisan budget act.
Joe, I know everybody's calling it a bipartisan. You know what it is? It's Washington, D.C.'s budget act. It's not a bipartisan. It's
right.
It's the bubble group. It's the insiders. It's a special interest. It's the cowards that are looking forward. It's the politically motivated. It's not a bipartisan. This represents to me, Joe, why 87% of the American people don't trust the members of Congress, all the members of Congress, and the President of the United States. This is another perfect example of why. Because it has nothing to do what should be done, shouldn't be done, what's right, what's wrong. It is nothing but all politically motivated.
And Ryan said it. He had to do the compromise because Republicans have to win elections, and they want to control the Senate in 2014. Well, that's nice, but let's win elections for the right reason. Let's tell the truth.
So
let's be leaders.
Let's talk about that. So we're going to win elections as Republicans by increasing the debt, increasing the spending, supporting language that will allow Congress in the future to wiggle out of promises and increase debt and spending. And we're going to do it by screwing our veterans. Is that really what we want to stand on in 2014?
Well, there it goes. And, we had these. It was tough to take this sequester, but it was there. But you know what this does? It gets rid of the budget caps.
Yeah.
It breaks the sequester rules. We're back where we started. And this is a lousy precedent for the future because it shows that anything Congress does can be changed because of politics. So where are we going? We have no long-term plan. And that's what we need right now. Obama won't even he won't mention the word entitlements. It's off the table, like it doesn't exist. And basically, what are we talking about with this bill? We're talking about discretionary spending. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking at what we're talking about, hey, we're spending $3.7 trillion last year. We're going to probably go up slightly to 3.8, but all we're talking about here is $1 trillion. It's like the rest doesn't exist. It's amazing.
For someone like myself, I lived in Southern California, and I can't tell you how many times they have to change the welcome mat at the Betty Ford Theater because of the folks that go there. They have to change it almost every week because of the traffic in and out. This is like going in because you are a habitual drug abuser, and instead they would treat you, not to get you off, they would treat you by saying, hey, well, I cut down on your heroin intake by 30%. Come on.
Right. Yeah, that's the problem we have here. But, this is now going to cause a big problem for those appropriators because for the first time in a few years, they have to now go through agency by agency, department by department, and figure out what it is that they want to let them have. And this is now going to allow conservatives to stand up and say, wait a minute, why you... So guys like Thad Cochran, guys that are on the Appropriations Committee, are now going to have to make decisions that will leave them naked when it comes to the elections that are coming up. But that's the way it should be. Hey, this is what they're there for. They're there to make decisions on what's good and what's not good. So now the whole thing shifts back to appropriations. The Budget Committee has said, all right, we've lifted the caps. Here's what you need to now allocate, and the appropriations process is going to be regular order, I think, for the first time in maybe two years. So that's going to be interesting. That's going to put them to work now.
I want to come back
to work on this for the next month.
I want to come back to what we've just done to our veterans. Mr. Schumer actually came out and said, I'm sorry, these folks in the military, these retired folks, they have to pay a price too. I was thinking, can those guys get their legs back, maybe their arms back? Can they get their other ailments back? Can some of them actually rise out of the grave and be alive again? No, they made their promise. They kept their promise. It's despicable and disrespectful, and it's dishonorable that this nation continues to not keep its promise. But let me talk about this. You know what I find just as reprehensible is now Mr. Ryan and those in the Senate are saying, oh, we made a mistake and we didn't realize that was in the bill. Hell, they had a debate on it. They fought back on it. There was an amendment that was put forth that was voted down. How can they possibly look the American people in the eye and the veterans in the eye and say, oh, no, it was like a clerical error. We didn't catch it.
No, I'm with you. But, look what we've done to veterans. Look at the joblessness among the veterans when they come back. Have we prepared for the medical expenses and the real health care they deserve after risking their lives?
No, it's wrong. It's wrong.
Back?
I mean,
right.
I can't. And Mr. Schumer, to say what he said, I mean, that shames our nation. But again, let's look at the numbers. Let's boil it down. $6 billion to keep our promise. And I'm using this as an example of how dysfunctional and how I believe immoral Washington has become. We give $7 billion.
You're right to say it.
Well, we give $7 billion to Pakistan. We give, who we know are funding terrorists who are out killing Americans. We give $9 billion to Egypt and the Muslim Brotherhood. We give, I don't know how many billions of dollars we just released to Iran. Billions of dollars to this enemy. But we can't find $6 billion to keep the promise to the veterans?
No, you're right. And we find a way to send piles of cash to Karzai. I think we're still doing that. He wants it in cash, and it's got to be $100 bills. I forget what that monthly charge is, but at one point it was like $300,000 a week. But at one point we sent $8 billion in cash that we lost to Iraq. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and then Mr. I mean, the other thing is, I'm sorry for picking on Mr. Ryan, but I encouraged my audience, go back and listen. Watch the videos and listen to the audio and what he said during the last campaign. And then go and watch the press conferences in the last week. If you
Absolutely.
You would get
right.
if his voice was being run through one of those machines where it hides his voice or somehow changes it, you wouldn't even know it's the same person. Right?
That's good. We got to take the long-term approach too, and they're not doing that.